La 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 la. German Masala, sit back and listen to German Masala. Sit back and listen to German Masala.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of German Masala podcast. I'm your host, Herbir.
And I'm your other host, Alex.
This is the 10th episode. We were supposed to record it 2 weeks ago, but I was unfortunately a little bit under the weather, a little bit sick. So we thought, okay, because of the pandemic going around these days, let's not meet each other. Let's not be one of those super spreaders. And we said, okay, let's postpone it. And that's why we are recording it 2 weeks after. Today, it's 3rd of November 2020,
It
right?
is. It is the third of November. It's a special day, I would say, right?
Definitely special day. Um, Other than being the special day, right now we also have some restrictions in Germany. We have this partly lockdown. How would you call it in English, Alex?
Yeah, I would say it's a partial lockdown. You're
A
right.
partial,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, we have some certain restrictions and some others were not lifted, but not as strict as before. So, yeah, I would say partial lockdown.
Yeah, but that's the reason why we are not sitting together in one single room. Rather than that, we thought, okay, let's do this one remotely just to be sure that we are safe, everyone else is safe, the people we meet, etc. And I think a lot of people are taking these precautions these days, which is a good thing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good thing. Even though, like, technically, just so everybody listening not in Germany knows what's going on, we could have met in person. The current limitation is two people. Maximum 10 people from two different households. And since we're just two people from two different households, we could have. But stay safe, everyone. We don't want to endanger anyone, and we thought this is probably for now the best way to do this.
Exactly. I mean, hopefully next couple of episodes we will be meeting again personally, face to face, sitting together, and then recording the episodes. Cool. This is again, as said, this is 3rd of November 2020, the day which we are recording on. And as Alex said, it is a special day. It is a special day because it's an election day in the US. And right now, everyone, or a lot of people at least, are looking towards the US and waiting to see what's going to happen over there, who is going to win the elections. And this topic is everywhere and you can't escape it. That's the reason I thought that let's talk about who is going to be the next president of the United States, in
Wow.
our opinion.
That's a good topic. That's also I guess this will get a little controversial again.
Yeah.
So maybe for some of our viewers who weren't with us over the last 9 episodes and are just tuning in today, this podcast works by either one of us bringing a topic and always switching it up. So last time it was my turn to bring a topic to this podcast, and the catch here is that the other person doesn't know what we're talking about. So I basically have zero preparation in like mind or matter to know what we are talking about. And apparently it's the election, right? Is there anything specific you want to focus on, or is it just like the next president of the United States?
So I just wanted to know your thoughts about who you think is going to win the election. I know what I think, so I will present my thoughts as well on this. But the good thing is, we just talked about our last episode in which the topic was debates and the culture of debate, right? And we talked about how we can. So this happened after the first presidential debate in the US. And we talked about how you could make it better, right? Because there was a lot of shouting going around in the first debate, and no one actually was able to properly present their arguments from both the candidates, right? And we were talking about how this could be made better. And one of the arguments you presented, Alex, was, what if you were able to sort of mute the candidates as a host, right?
Yes.
And this is what they did in the next debate, right? They said that the host or the moderator will have the power to mute the candidates. And that's why I think the whole debate was a lot more civil than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's part of the reason why, but I agree. I mean, this is we did talk about this, and hopefully this did help to make a case for more transparency, or not even more transparent, just more discussion where people can actually take something away from these debates, right? Because as we talked about it last time, that was the main point. But I guess now we're looking actually ahead to like tonight in the US, maybe. So when you're listening to this, the results obviously will be out, or maybe not. I mean, this. So this is maybe the first big part, right? We may not know who the president is until, I don't know, next week or something, which is totally fine. You know, like there is no need to know this right now. But looking at what Donald Trump has been talking about and tweeting about, he's like, no, there has to be a result on election night, which is just logistically almost impossible right now because there's so many, voters by mail, which obviously, I mean, we're in a pandemic. You don't want to be going out to a place where a lot of people are. And frankly, the president himself, or at least his daughter and his son, like they were on Air Force One holding up their mail-in ballots, which is, just so, oh my, it was, and then condemning this. But yeah, so this is the first point. Like I myself am like, I'm concerned a little bit, not because of, I'm because of exactly that, actually. Like I'm concerned about this specific election because I do believe that there may be that case happening that on election night, it may look like one candidate is winning and then getting all the votes counted that came in by mail, drop in ballot, all of these things will completely or at least partially change the result so that one party over the other will win, which may anger one party more than the other party. And yeah.
You know why Trump has been pushing this narrative that the mail ballots might be fraud and everything. The reason is that they are thinking right now, most of the Democrats or most of the people who are going to use mail ballot are going to be Democrats, and Republicans on the other hand are probably more, I don't know how they found this out. Maybe there were some studies, etc. But they are thinking that Republicans are going to go to the voting centers and are going to put their ballots actually in the boxes over there. And that's why he's pushing this whole thing that this postal or this mail ballot might be a fraud, And as you were saying, I sort of share your thoughts on this as well. This might be a very difficult situation, something that hasn't happened a lot in the past in the US, I think, where people are saying, okay, we are not going to accept the results, right?
Yeah. And this is, I mean, I maybe dove too deep in the bubble there. Yesterday, I watched a TED Talk on some loopholes in the American Constitution, basically in the law that would legally allow you to not concede to the next president, which is just, I was shocked when I watched that video. There is apparently like a legal way to say, no, I'm not leaving. And then it will go to, I don't remember everything. I think it will go to like the states, and the states will then in the end have to vote, not even like by population and representatives, the states will have to vote. And this didn't happen for over 100 years. I want to say the last time was in 18 something. I don't know. It just sounds crazy. And I just really hope that we are not getting to that point. But I mean, you posed the first question, which was, who do you think the next president is going to be, right?
Yes.
And this one is so hard, but only, I'm just going to say this. I think I would be more optimistic about Biden and Kamala Harris being president and vice president if it weren't for the last election. Like the last election, that one really, I'm a person who believes in science, believes in data, believes in statistics. That's part of my job. But also last time it just showed me how flawed these can be, right? And not even that flawed, because honestly, like the popular vote was won by Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, by Hillary Clinton. But obviously, since it's the whole electoral college, it was Trump who won the office, basically. So at least it gave me some sense of, well, not everybody is for Trump. It's actually the majority who's for Clinton. It's just stupid how they set it up, honestly. I think it's a stupid system. But this time, you see all these polls going around and they're all like, oh yeah, so Biden is ahead and Biden is currently leading the race. And I'm like, I really want to believe this. So to be completely, upfront, I definitely don't want Trump to be a second term president. And I do want Biden and Harris to win, even though I don't agree with everything they say, as it was with Obama, for example. But honestly, those are just people who put people first, who are just, nice and all of that good stuff that I just want to see in presidential candidates and even in the president, to be frank. However, I just, right now, I'm so undecided. Like, I'm going to say, I think Biden is going to win.
Yeah.
So
I agree with what you said about the polls being wrong last time. Like there were a lot of predictions that Hillary was going to win, and this time again, they are saying Biden is going to win, right? The thing about electoral college that you said, okay, that Hillary did win the popular vote, but she did not win the electoral college. But I think polls should take that into consideration as well, right? I don't know how they would do this. Maybe there's a scientific method to do this, but this should be happening. Maybe they are doing it as well this time. But I honestly think, although I hope that Biden and Kamala will win, but I think Trump is going to win.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the first times we actually really disagreed about something on this podcast.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we both agree on one point that we both want Biden to win.
Sure, yes. Well, that's good.
Yeah, but I think Trump is going to win. It's sort of a gut feeling right now as well. The thing is, I don't know if we talked about this sometime in the past, but last time, like 4 years ago, I used to work for a consulting company. We had a colleague, she was from New York and she was working here in Germany, and we were having breakfast together like 1 week before the elections, and she was saying Trump is never going to win. She was saying that guy is a joke. It can never happen, right? And after 1 week, I can still remember we were sitting together in the hotel lobby. We were having breakfast, like all the colleagues. There were 10 people, I think. And she came down and someone told her, oh, Trump just won. And you must have seen her face, man. And she was not the only person who was thinking that, she was not even one of the few people who were thinking, like a lot of people were thinking Trump has no chance, right? But he still won. The thing is, with all the social media and all the different channels we have right now, you sort of live in your own echo chamber, right? You keep listening to people whom you like, who think the same way as you do as well. So if someone is a Democrat, they might be listening to they might be listening to CNN, or they're on their Facebook page, they might only be getting feed from people who are a little bit left oriented, So this makes you feel that your candidate is going to win. And that's why I think, and I also think, by the way, that this whole thing that the polls are saying Biden are going to win might be a bit dangerous for Biden as well, because people might think, okay, my candidate is going to win anyway, so I don't have to go out and vote. Yeah, I can be a little bit lazy.
Yeah, that's the big one. But luckily, I saw that so many people pushed for voting, like even people like on social media, on YouTube, who have usually avoided topics like these, have now been raising their voices. And I don't know, I think it's good to see on the one hand, but I completely agree. Like the more people talk about, oh, the polls are up for Biden or whatever, like the more people have an excuse to say, well, I thought he was going to win anyway, and just don't go. Right.
Yeah.
And I really hope this is not going to happen. I mean, I guess by the time people will listen to this, the choice has already been made. Maybe not public because the votes are still being counted. So please be patient, but it will, you would have to have your vote already casted.
Yeah. Okay. So Trump also said one thing about Germany. I don't know if you heard about this.
He says so many things about Germany. All right, go ahead. What did he
Uh,
say?
So in one of his campaign rallies, he was like, okay, countries like China and Germany, they don't really want me to win because I am, he was, I don't know exact wording, but he was basically saying I'm bad for them because I think about America first. And to be honest, I live in Germany. I am a German citizen. I do not want Trump to win, but it does not
Same.
have anything to do with the trade or, with him thinking about America first, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I don't think a person who thinks and behaves like him or like a child, I don't even want to say child because, it's like also insulting children a little bit. But a person like him holding one of the most powerful positions in this world, if not the most powerful position, right? That's my reason. What do you think, Alex? Is it similar for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, same here. Been living in Germany for quite some time. Also lived in the US for some time, and still the German citizen. And I definitely do want Trump to lose. I want Biden to win. So he's right on that front. But it's not about him putting America first. Well, actually, it's maybe him believing he puts America first, what he thinks is best. So, for example, what I think is bad for Germany, but for the entire world is, for example, the US pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, right? Stuff like that, where he may think he's putting America first with that, which I completely disagree with. Even if I'm in the US, I would completely disagree with that. So it's more on those lines. Like the trade, sure, I want every economy in the world to do well, right? I want American companies to do well. I want German companies. I want Chinese companies, for that fact, to be well. I want, consumers to have the choices they have. And I'm against having huge taxes, which are basically only there to anger another company, sure, or another country, right? So I'm against that. But I'm for, also protecting local farmers, for protecting some of the market to have jobs in there. So, there has to be a balance of everything. And I don't disagree with putting your own, I mean, you're the president of that country. Frankly, this is your job to protect your country, your people, and in a sense, put them first, which I don't disagree with his overall statement. I just, as you said, completely disagree with the way he does certain things like that. And I frankly think a president should be someone who shows compassion, who puts the majority of his people first, and this is what really drove it home for me over the past days, who is not dividing a country. Right? Did you see the bus, like the Biden-Harris campaign bus in Texas being surrounded by basically pickup trucks with people with guns in it that looked like the freaking IS? Like, did you see the video of that?
I did not, but I did. You mentioned it yesterday in our call, so I did wanted to talk to you about it. Can you tell me a little bit about it, like how this happened and where this happened, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically Texas is obviously a state that has been turning more blue and blue over time, so more Democratic. And this is a state that is obviously really important because it's a big state, important state. So it is only, it's only logical that the people who are running for president would usually want to hold their campaign rallies, especially towards the end of the campaign, in states that they think they can win but are currently undecided. So obviously Biden-Harris wanted to have an event there. And while they themselves weren't on that campaign bus, the bus was obviously, it was hugely, like, you could see that it was a Democrat bus. It even said Biden-Harris on the side, if I don't remember. If I don't remember correct. If I do remember correctly. And anyway, so they were on a highway in Texas, and I don't know how the people organized, and I bet there are a bunch of articles on there that will probably tell you more than I will tell you right now, but in the end, it ended up being a bunch of mostly pickup trucks, but also some SUVs. I didn't see any other cars, to be honest. But yeah, it was, a bunch of cars, basically, with a lot of them having, or mostly all of them having, like, Trump 2020 flags sticking out the window. I read an article that some of the people were bearing arms, which in Texas only makes sense. Like, I'm not, also don't take me wrong, I'm not completely against guns. I think they should be moderated, but again, that's a whole different topic. However, what they did is literally what I would see in certain war scenarios, or again with like the IS. Like these are the videos that reach us sometimes from the Middle East, which are terrifying. Which if I would see that in my own country, I would get the out. Seriously, like I would not, like this is so saddening to see, because I love America, I love the US, but this event was like, this is terrible. And what's even worse, and that's where I was getting at with this whole thing, what's even worse is that the president of the United States, Donald Trump, retweeted a video of this, having in all caps something like "I love Texas" or "That's why I love Texas" or something, which is terrible. Like, you should not you should condemn this no matter what political affiliation you have. Those are attacks. If I would be the bus driver, if I would be on that bus, I would be terrified if people would show up in pickup trucks and in whatever cars. I don't really care, right? I would like to have a Cybertruck. That's a pickup truck, so I don't care. But if they would turn up next to the bus I'm in, maybe with arms on their bodies and trying to run a bus like that off the road or something, for me that is like a terroristic attack.
Yeah,
right?
This is so interesting. Did you see in a video that they were bearing arms?
Actually, no. It was mentioned in an article, and I don't want to spew any false like stuff here, but I'm pretty sure. Like, actually, it's probably time to look this up really quick.
Yeah.
All right.
This is crazy. Yeah. So as you were saying, I also the pictures of like ISIS in Iraq or in Syria, waving their guns in the air comes to mind when you hear about this. This is really, you wouldn't expect this to happen. Although, to be honest, there are so many guns in the US.
Yeah.
Especially in Texas, I think. It's not that surprising again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just looking up some of the stuff, so I can't really make this out right now. But it just all turns out to how a president behaves. Like, even if this event, even if it wasn't that bad, even if there were just, driving by and yelling some stuff, and it's just behavior that no adult person, again, from whatever affiliation, should even partially encourage. If you're the president, you should say, that is wrong. Every voice needs to be heard. And you are actually the one in charge, needing to make sure that every voice is heard, right? If you're that is partially what democracy is about. And honestly, what Trump is using right now are tactics that are super anti-democratic.
But that's the thing, Alex. He has never been presidential, and this is not the first time he has done something stupid like this. I mean,
True.
If I think about the campaign, his first campaign, I remember the scene where I think this protester from Black Lives Matter, I'm not like 100% sure, but some protester was in his rally and started shouting something. I think in a democratic country, everyone has the right to present their ideas, and especially in the rallies, if you want to protest, you have the right to go there and say something. And he was like, oh, if this was 70s, then we would have punched his face in or something like that. And maybe we should do that. Maybe we should put him on a stretcher. Or he said something along those lines. What kind of president, or even back then he was a presidential candidate, would say something like this? I don't think it's America first for him at all. It's just Trump first for him all the time. That's how it has always been. And if he wins again, it's going to be like that again, right?
Yeah.
On that point, I think, again, this might be unprecedented thing that never happened in the US before. And I think they have like after winning or losing after losing the election, they have like 90 days of time before they have to leave the White House, right? And until then, the next president is sort of president-elect and is not really a president.
Yeah, I think it's like February 1st or something when they officially like switch powers or something. So yeah, I agree.
I think so too. Do you think Trump is really going to leave the White House if he loses?
Well, here's the thing. I think Trump, as much as I would like to say he's completely stupid,
Yeah.
when it comes to certain things, he isn't as stupid as I think many people would like him to be. So, for example, for this one, I don't think he will straight out just stay in the. I think here's what's going to happen. He will try to contest the result of the election and then just stay in the White House, because all of this, and again, I there's this TED Talk episode. I think we can link it here somewhere in our show notes, and even on YouTube if you're watching there. But like, what's going to happen is I think he's going to drag this out to this like scenario where he can legally in quotes, but it is legal, like it can be done, where he can legally contest the result. And I think that's what he's going to do. I don't think he's just going to say no, that's my house, I'm just going to stay here. Like, he's going to try to fight this on a level where at least some people will say, well, if it's in the, like, if that's legal, if you can do this, then you have every right to do this, because, oh, the Democrats, they had all these fraudulent, envelopes being sent, and he has to do this. And that's what legitimizes some of his actions in front of some of his people, right? What I really hope is going to happen is that people, well, first of all, I hope that he's just going to be beaten so badly in the polls that there's just no way anyone believes that he even had a chance to win. Like, that's my ideal scenario. Honestly, though, that might not happen, right? So, yeah. I don't like. It's really hard to say what's going to happen. The only thing that I'm going to say is I'm not a huge protester. I've been barely at any protest in my life, to be honest. If this would happen in my country, that would be the first time I would be on the streets. I wouldn't be rioting, because I think peaceful protests are the way to go. Make your voices heard. But that would be the time I would be on the streets, because that is when it's basically that's where dictatorships start, right?
Yeah. You just brought up rioting. There are a lot of people in the big cities in the US, shopkeepers, who are sort of trying to protect their shops right now by bolting down, I think these were wooden panels in front of their glass windows. They're doing that right now. And there are certain militia groups as well who are mobilizing their members, which are doing some trainings. I saw a few videos and this is happening, I think, on the both sides, maybe a little bit more on the Republican side, because they are usually the people who who talk about gun rights and right to bear arms, all those things. But this is happening on Democrats' side as well, that there are some militia groups. But this is really scary when I see that shopkeepers have to do such things to owners, have to do such things to protect their property.
To be fair, though, I did talk to someone living in Seattle yesterday, and they said that some of their shops have been boarded up for all the Black Lives Matter protests for a couple of months and weeks now. So, it's not unprecedented. And for the May Day protests, people have been boarding up their shops over some time. So it's not something that never happened before. But for a presidential election, I want to say it is you usually don't see it happening in those widespread, in every city and stuff like that. And I would be, again, I usually say that I would love to be in the US. I love American companies. I'm a big fan of Tesla. I would love to have their products first, try out their full self-driving stuff. I'm sometimes really sad that I'm not in the US, not living there. I have friends there. I love them to my dearest, And I said this yesterday. This is one of the first times in my life where I'm actively happy I'm not in the US, and I don't know if I would be in the US. I would like to stay there over this period of time. Right? Not only because of the pandemic and the really poor handling of that, let's be honest. I mean, it's not actually going great here in Germany right now, but
no,
looking at the deaths and looking at, the statistics of how many % of your population we are still doing comparatively well, and they're doing comparatively horrible. But, especially for those riots, because think about this. I mean, I would definitely be voting for Democratic people. I might have been trying to get someone who is not in either of these parties in. Well, I don't know. I would have probably gone for Yang or something. And anyway.
But then you're wasting your vote, right?
Exactly. And right now, I would like my first and foremost thing would be to not have another 4 years of Trump. So I guess yes, I would definitely be voting for Biden and Harris, which is completely fine. But let's say you're living in, I don't know, a deeply not democratic, like deeply Republican state, and for whatever reason, someone knows what you're voting for, or actually like people, you talk about it, and then people start showing up at your house maybe or somewhere else, like threatening you. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying this happened, but these would be my fears, just because like political expression should be free. Like, you shouldn't be threatened by any of this. And what it looks like to me right now is happening in the US, like people preparing for sort of I don't even want to call it that, but like a civil war, like like people pitting themselves against each other, which is exactly driving home the point that Trump basically divided America.
He's the polarizing factor. Yeah, a huge one. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really, really hope that this does not happen, that everything remains peaceful. And, I love the US as well. We might have been, like both of us might have been there next month, actually, if the pandemic wasn't there. But
yes, we would have been there. And actually, the good thing is this would have, I guess, been after the election. So I guess the people who would have sent us there would have made sure that we're safe, or I guess would have not let us come there. But but okay. But one point I still want to touch on here is we obviously think, like, you have a gut feeling that Trump is going to win, and I have a gut feeling, or not a gut feeling, I have a kind of statistical feeling or hope that Biden is going to win. Tell me why you think that he's good. Like, why do you think, not like we talked about, like we disliking some of his actions, he's not acting presidential, he, all of that, but why do you think he's going to win? Because that must mean like he has more people like it. What does it mean?
The thing is, whenever you hear his base sort of speak, right? You see some interviews on some YouTube channels, or you can see Fox News. They are so much more enthusiastic about the polling. They are so much more loyal to him. They are like, and they are also very loud. I think that's also one of the reasons that it gives me impression right now that he might win. The other thing is the experience from 2016, where everyone was saying, oh, this guy has no chance at all, and then he still won. The thing over there was that people really disliked Hillary, like even the Democrats, right? A lot of them wanted Bernie to be the Democratic candidate. And if you think about it, I mean, I can't remember the whole situation, how it was, but I think the party was trying to push Hillary forward and were trying to restrict Bernie in a lot of things. They were not giving him as much exposure as they were giving to Hillary. So I think that made people hate Hillary, and then thought, okay, we are not going to vote at all, or maybe vote for the third candidate. I don't think they voted for Trump back then, the Democrats, right? But now a similar thing happened again. Bernie was one of the leading candidates when they were trying to search for their presidential candidate, the Democrats. And he still didn't win, right? And I know he has said, okay, I want Biden to win. I'm telling you, please vote for Biden. But a lot of people still have in their minds is, oh, Biden is not the candidate that we want, right? And there's one more point.
Okay.
This is Republicans are pushing this a lot as well, and I think it makes sense too, which is they are saying Biden has had 45 years career as a politician. What are his achievements in those 45 years? What has he done that he can mention right now and say, this is something I did? He was not the president, but he was vice president back then when Barack Obama was the president. And I think he might have been in some other powerful positions before that as well.
He was, and he did a lot for women's rights, I think.
Okay,
he did pass. He's not completely unaccomplished.
Okay, maybe. So that's the thing. I don't know about that. And I think a lot of other people don't know about that as well. Luckily, I'm not going to vote. I mean, I would still have voted for Biden. So maybe unluckily, I'm not going to vote.
Sure.
But
Well, I mean,
these
not
are the
our
reasons
country.
I'm thinking. Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I think these are the reasons I'm thinking that Trump has a good chance of winning again.
Yeah. Well, I think here's the deal. This may be also me being in my bubble and trying to also look at some hopeful shimmers of light, right? But some of what I saw is people basically saying, I voted for Trump, but then all the things happened that I thought would not happen to me, and now I'm voting for the Democratic Party, at least for Democratic people. And you saw that have you seen the Lincoln Project? So like even on Twitter, you can see them.
No, I haven't.
That's basically a Republican conglomerate of, I don't know, like people, whatever. I'm not too deep into that, and they are anti-Trump. Like they don't think Trump is standing for the values of the Republicans, which I think is extraordinary because it shows that there's even within the party some division. There's always, right? There's always like you don't always support your front runner, but I've just seen cases piling up around that notion of, yeah, maybe Trump isn't the perfect one. And I know that he has a lot of loyal people who will just shout his name like almost like what is it called? Like a sect? What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, right? So yeah, I mean, he does have these loyal people, which I mean, congrats to him. But following someone blindly is basically what happened to Germany with Hitler. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. And I would be really cautious of that. And again, no candidate is perfect. But what I think Biden has really drove home is compassion. And even though America looks at Trump with some sort of, he's a good businessman, which I can totally not understand because he ran all of his business into the ground, basically. Anyway, what Biden has been doing really well is, and what I hope that I would do as well, is he basically looked at also his party and be like, who was strong as an opponent in debates? And he picked Kamala Harris. I mean, how cool is that? He's a guy who will go out and do what it's like the textbook president. It's like, hey, if you have other people in your party who have strong views and who have a lot of support, obviously he might have also chosen her for being a woman and having some of the women rights in there. She's, of color. So he might have, there's obviously some Kalkül, it's called in German, right? So some calculations to that. But if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, you would say, no, he has picked her because she's just a really strong voice in the Democratic Party, and people are following her. So I think that is really strong. That will give him a lot of support, I hope, and I think. Also, he has been showing compassion for certain groups where I think, even though some people may not say this out loud, but still think it, like when Trump attacked Biden's children.
Yeah.
I lost words. Like, this is, I don't even give a about if you're president or if you're someone else. Like, I don't care.
You don't do that.
No, you don't do that. And you don't, and even with like wrong facts, and what I thought was like, what got me to tears was Biden standing there in front of a national, like millions of people basically watching this debate, and probably a bunch more after that, and saying that he's proud of his son. Like, can you imagine what it takes to do this in front of everyone? But I think actually for Biden, it was the thing that's just who he is. And that is what told me this is what shows me if there's a person who's caring, who's able to care, right?
This is a great point, Alex. I watched this video, I think I sent it to you as well, where Biden was talking to people after one of his rallies. I think he was shaking hands, and he probably forgot to shake one person's hand, and he turned around, and this person, I think this person had Down syndrome, and this person said, "Hey, wait," or something like that. And Biden, without even like waiting for 1 second, he just turns around, says hello to this guy, hugs him very tightly, like a father would hug his son, or a child, and talks to this person. It just melted my heart. I would recommend everyone to go and search for that video. You will find it easily, I think, on YouTube. And it was just so heartwarming to see this after watching 4 years of Trump.
Yes, and that's the point. And I really hope that people, no matter what they believe in, no matter what religion they are, what skin color they have, no matter what, look at some of the qualities that make humans, right? And make them thrive in a society. Because let's take away all the laws, let's take everything away, go back to, I don't know, the Stone Age or something, right?
Yeah.
People needed to survive in a group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why did people start to group together? Why it's not like every man or every woman for him or herself, right? It's because we developed a sense of community and society which will benefit each other, because some people may be better at certain things than others. Some people might be weaker than others, but smarter than others. I don't know. There's a bunch of things that benefit us from having a good relationship with others, even though we don't have to agree with everything they say. And I really hope that a lot of people will look at some of these events that happened, will look at how Trump reacted to some things, how Biden reacted to some things, and will come to the conclusion that, you know what? I don't have to be a Democrat to vote for Biden. I don't have to be someone who, like, Biden is just trying to make obviously he will still push a lot of the Democratic agenda, which frankly I think is fine. I don't disagree with a lot of that. I disagree with some of that, but I don't disagree with a lot of that, which, that's just what's going to happen. But if you look at those basic human qualities, I feel like the thing I usually like to say is I judge people by my willingness to have, sit down and have lunch with them. With Trump, I actually wouldn't have liked to sit down with him. I would have refused an offer like that.
What about drinks?
No. I would be afraid he would grab people.
Okay.
But so that's why I'm hoping that there is a majority of people who have looked at these things, who have experienced maybe some of these things themselves, who may have incurred loss of family, which I think is terrible, through the pandemic, through a mishandling, which could have been avoided. And they're just looking back and, is it really worth me voting for someone of my maybe party, which is totally against everything I stand for? And then maybe they'll take a look at Biden and say, well, you know what? I don't agree with everything he says, but at least he will be a president of the people. And if I'm for a republic, which is, America, basically, you can, like, the most American thing you could probably do is vote for Biden, because what Trump has been doing, even though a lot of people might claim that's like, oh, that's American stuff, I disagree. I live there, and yes, some of it might be seen by outsiders as, oh yeah, this is America. Like, say that people and the guns, and yeah, that's great that you have these trucks and you drive by the Biden-Harris bus, and that's sure, but that's not what I think. I think America is still about people from all over the world coming together. It's about freedom, actually. It's about companies thriving. It's about people being given chances. And I really hope that people will look back at this ideal of the world and be like, you know what? Is Trump really helping with that ideal? And hopefully say no.
Great point, Alex. Well, I think maybe we should stop discussing this on this very positive note. I hope as well that Biden wins. But let's see. I mean, tomorrow we will know more. We are 6 hours ahead of the East Coast in the US, right?
Yeah.
So it's already election day in the US. It's not.
Well, it's election day, but it's like, what, 3:30 a.m. election day or something?
Yeah, that's true. But tomorrow we might know more. And I mean, when we will release this episode, there will be either there will be some kind of result, or they will be saying, okay, we still have to wait for the mail-in ballots to come in, but we will know more by then. So again, fingers crossed. Let's hope. I hope Biden wins, and I know you too. So let's hope that he wins, and Trump is history, just part of history for the US.
Hopefully Trump was trumped.
Oh, that's a very good pun. Very nice way to say this.
Oh gosh, I would have been making shirts like Trump or something. I don't know. Anyway, we will definitely come back to this topic, I think, next in 2 weeks when we have our next episode up. So exactly. Even though it will be my choice to pick a topic, and maybe we'll go for something apolitical for a change, it will, at least we'll look back at this and share our thoughts. And maybe if you're listening to this, you're like, well, I now know the result and everything you said is true or not true or something like this. If you agree or disagree, feel free to leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube, or shoot us an email. Our email address is in the show notes. We love to hear from you. And even though this is a controversial topic, I want to just say, and maybe you want to tag something on here, Habir, but I want to just say that we don't intend to, be disrespectful of anyone here, even though we are making some of those jokes. Some of this are also my personal opinions. However, as I hopefully try to bring across, I'm always for uniting people. And even though there are certain terms people might disagree on, everyone has the right to have their voices heard. I just want to make sure that everyone has that same right and every voice is heard, especially if it's like a mail-in or something. Fun fact, I think almost every election I've ever been able to participate in, local and state and whatever, I did vote by mail, which is just a thing here in Germany, which is just so much more comfortable because you just get it in the mail, you fill it out, you send it back. Like, I don't want to go to a place. Like, this is the 21st century. I want to do everything online, and this is the second best thing. So yeah.
I do that as well, but once I did go to the polling station because, I just became German and I wanted to have this feeling of actually being part of something, something bigger, and going there, seeing other people as well, and putting my ballot in the post, in the box. So I did do that once, but it's so much more comfortable to do this via post. By post. Again, great point, Alex. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and that's not our intention at all. We did make some jokes, but those are just jokes. And
but some of them are. I'm just going to be speaking for myself here. Some of these jokes are rooted in my belief that some of the stuff that especially Trump has been doing is just wrong, and I'm going to stand by my word here. But this doesn't mean that I don't respect other people. I may just disrespect how they're doing certain things and what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Or exactly. Disagree, I guess is the right word. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant as well. And I mean, as Alex said, do comment as well. You can also say, haha, you were so wrong. We will be happy to read that as well. Do let us know how you like our episodes. What do you think about this episode in particular? Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of German Masala. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and you can find us on all major platforms, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think we're on Amazon Music now. We do have a YouTube channel where we try to publish some video content as well. May look different from time to time. We're working, we're learning. So if you want to, feel free to check us out there. As we mentioned before, please drop us a comment if you're watching on YouTube, or send us an email if you have any thoughts, if you have any topics for us you want us to discuss. We're happy to take a look at this. And German Masala is a podcast under the Alex Universe brand, I guess. I don't want to call it a brand yet. I guess it's a brand, right? Under the Alex Universe brand, which is currently this podcast hosted by Harbir and myself, Alex. And it's a YouTube channel called Alex Universe, which is like electromobility and stuff where I talk about this. It's in German though. So if you're more of an English listener, this podcast is probably better for you.